What up, y'all? It's Alex, and we're breaking down D.Dan's Sudan, Sedan. We're going to go over the arrangement and talk about how this track is what it is. This is the track in question. Just before I dive in, I want to announce that I have started releasing some samples from a new sample pack called Sounds of Detroit, also Sounds of Hamtramck, also more sounds of blank coming out. They're basically ambient recordings, mostly ambient recordings that I took in the Detroit area or in Hamtramck. In the Detroit area, we've got like the Guardian building, the Fisher building. These are some famous buildings here in Detroit that I took ambience recordings of, like their lobbies, for example. So if you want access to those samples, you can see the videos on the YouTube channel already. At least like one or two of them have been released. I'm slowly releasing them, but if you want all of the recordings at once, then you can go to my Patreon. If you subscribe on Patreon, then you can get all the recordings. There's over 25 right now. Really sounding really nice if you need some like good solid ambient recordings, and they're Detroit centric and in the surrounding area. So like pretty like cool spots in Detroit where you can hear what you would hear if you were standing there. So yeah, check that out on Patreon. And yeah, with that said, let's go ahead and dive into this track. So basically, the track starts off with our kick, some percussion, and some low end. You've got the 4 on the floor kick going 1, 2, 3, 4. You've got the 2 and the 4, which is like 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's being signified by this vocal sound, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have this little like offbeat that's happening after the first and after the third kick. And then we have the techno rumble, which is like that low end that's not the kick. You can hear this on its own at the very end of the track. You hear it right over here. Now if you're gonna need headphones for this, or you're going to just need to have a sub for this. So if you're just listening like on your laptop, you just might not hear this, but check this out. I'm going to just play the low end from the original track. Hear how that's just rumbling low end? So that's essentially what you got in addition to your kick, that rumbling low end. So we're starting out with all these things here that I just described, and it's going to play that for 4 bars. And then the clap, it sounds like a 909, I think, is going to come in and layer that 2 and the 4 vocal thing. Notice how that rumble has a little like push and pull to it. It's like do 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 boom 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 boom. Gives sort of like galloping vibe. And so yeah, of course, after 8 bars, we're then going to add our offbeat hat. That's just going to keep adding interest. We're just building up. This is like a nice and easy DJ intro with not like much. Maybe technically this vocal is a tone, but like this is mostly just drums here, so it'd be pretty easy to mix in with a variety of tracks. We're going to do this for 8 bars, and then we need to add interest, so let's add that really dope vocal sample. So the reason why I did this as 2 different things is because you hear this like playing vocals at the same time as the main thing, which is that da. I'll just loop this a couple times, see if you can hear this other part here. Hopefully you heard it. I could have put these as one track because I feel like in general these are acting like one thing, which is the vocal, but whatever, I separated it out. And I don't know how D.Dan made it, but basically this just made sense to me because again, it sounds like you have like 2 like vocal samples playing at the same time, so I was like, might as well just separate it out track wise. So now we're just gonna groove on this for a bit. All right, so we had 16 bars of the groove with the sample, so now we're going to keep it moving by adding that eighth note hat. So this is basically, it sounds again like a 909 hat that's going to be hitting on eighth notes, and right now the decay is pretty small, but you'll notice that I put modulating because this is going to be a common thing throughout the song. In order to keep loops interesting, we're going to get a lot of modulation with specifically the decay of this eighth note hat. Listen to how it sounds here, the hat, versus here. See how it's more open here? When it's more open, you get kind of like more energy. So that's what I mean. Over the course of this loop, in this case, this is an 8-bar loop, you're getting some modulation of the hat, which just helps add like interest and a more like feeling, I suppose, like a more humanist vibe, humanistic element to it. Here it's really starting to open up more. I think it's in Black Sea. Sorry about that, a car just drove by. I think it's in a Black Sea by Drexy. I did a breakdown of that track too. I think we get a lot of movement coming out of the decay of hats. That's probably just common in a lot of tracks, I would guess. But yeah, it's a cool move. Right here especially, it's really opening up. So again, see what I mean? This hat's doing a lot of the work to keep this interesting. I want to note something here. So again, listen specifically to these like eighth note hats in this chunk. Hear how it sounds like a lot of them have slightly different decay times than like the one before or the one after. I just want to show you a thing you can do in Ableton. Like if I had to guess, I would guess D.Dan is maybe having a piece of hardware. I'm just guessing, I don't know for sure. And is probably just messing with the decay time manually on said hardware, but it could also be in software. And I do this a lot with my hi-hats, actually. I make white noise hi-hats. And let me just show you a way that if you're just in the box on Ableton, that you can like kind of have a human feel to whatever you're doing, or have a human feel in regards to like hi-hat decay times. So check this out. I'm gonna make a little loop. Here we go. Whoops. Hey. All right. Let's do some 16th. Let's do some 8th notes. Or let's do 16th notes. The same idea. Alright, so I'm just going to do some white noise hi-hats. Alright, now check this out. I can hit this button and then the plus button. And now if I hit record and start messing with the decay, it's going to register what I'm doing. See what I mean? So I just did that on my trackpad on my computer. And so that's just a way you can like quickly add like some groove or whatever to your hats. And so maybe that's maybe D.Dan was using open hats, closed hats here. I can't remember if I called D.Dan a he. I don't know if they use he, they, she, or whatever. So my apologies if I misgendered there. But yeah, so we've got the opening up happening. And let's keep going after I just mentioned that again. Like I said, this modulation is really doing a lot of the work. But okay, let's keep going. I don't think I even mentioned that we had the 16th note close hat come in. So again, just adding more drums. But okay, I keep digressing. Okay, so now let's recap what we've done. We started off with some drums, we added some more drums, we added a vocal, we added some more drums, then we added some more drums, and now we're gonna get bored, probably, eventually. So now we're gonna transition into a new part, and so it makes sense that we get a drop off of elements because we're about to switch from the lead vocal to the lead synth. Now, a lot of times when people are trying to transition from one section to the next, it can be common to try and just like add stuff here because you think that the more you add, you'll make like a more dramatic transition, which sometimes does work. But another effective way to make a cool transition is just to take stuff out. Like notice how right before we switch from focusing on a vocal lead to focusing into a synth lead, we're going to have the drums drop out, and we're going to get a moment of silence. So then, like, as a listener, we're hearing a lot of stuff, then we get a moment of silence, and then we're hearing a lot of stuff again. And that silence just, like, helps reset us and just creates, like, a nice sense of dynamics in the track. Now note how like right at the beginning here, these hats are full on. Versus at the very beginning when they entered. So that's what I mean. Just remember that the hat is doing a lot of work here by how open it is or how close it is. Now I'm going to kind of go quickly through the rest of this, and I know I might not be going in as much detail as I often do on these tracks. It's just that if you've watched this channel before, what we're talking about is things we've talked about a lot, so I'm just trying to go a little bit quicker here. Comment below if you're confused about something, and I'll maybe answer it. But basically, so the eighth note hat's modulating, the ARP's modulating. This ARP is going to modulate quite a lot. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you right now that right here and right here, they're playing the same notes, but listen how different the ARP sounds versus over here. You can barely hear it. It almost sounds more like a bell. I point that out to say that for the rest of this track, again, so much of the variation we're going to get, which is important because that variation helps keep the track interesting, but much of that variation is just going to come through the modulation of the ARP. And it's modulating in the sense that the filter's opening and closing. It's modulating in the sense that through that filter and through other effects or other like changes, it's going to go from this like big synth to this small thing. So just bear that in mind and let's keep listening. So we're going to start building back up with our drums because now we've kind of like reset in a way, and we're using this ARP instead of our vocal as the like lead element. And listen how loud that was here, the ARP right here, versus over here. Again, this is what I'm talking about. These little like human changes to elements of the ARP help just add some human element to this whole track. Like some I don't want to say randomness, but it just sounds a little less mechanical, I suppose. Okay, so we're going to keep going. Okay, so you see what's happening here? So now we're just going to bring back lead 1 / the lead vocal, and it's not going to play on top of lead 2 or the lead ARP. So we've never had this combination before. That means it's going to probably be interesting to us because it just seems to be a thing that humans like hearing. Or rather, it seems like in these techno tracks, what's a very common strategy is to come up with like a series of drums, then maybe a lead, maybe a second lead, and then you're just mixing and matching the aforementioned elements in different combinations until you're done with your track. So we've never had the combination of vocals with ARP before. This is interesting. We also have a hat that came in and is playing on the 1 and the 3. Never had that. That just kind of adds a different feel for the percussion. And we're just going to keep moving along. And we're going to pass this yellow stripe think why I put this yellow stripe here, okay? Once you hear it, wonder if you can see if you can figure out why I did that, okay? So I'm going to start from here. Okay, the reason why I did that is because we get a drum fill. Boom, it's right there. Drum fill / fill. Drum fill. Alright, that's distracting. Yeah, drum fills are cool. If you don't do them, go ahead and give it a try. It makes sense that we have it here because we just did the situation for 16 bars. We're going to do it for another 16 bars. So by having this drum fill here, this kind of helps break it up a little bit. It gets us a bit of like a reset for the second 16 bars. Because if it wasn't here, it would just feel a little bit more, I think it would feel a little bit more monotonous. This drum fill just helps break it up a little bit, which helps keep interest going. Drum fills are cool. Big fan. So let's keep listening and see what happens next. Okay, so once again we get a little bit of silence. Then we just get a touch of the vocal, and now we're going into a more aggressive clap pattern. The clap's now playing on the 1, 2, 3, and the 4, and we're just kind of like booming with our drums here. We're gonna get like a little touch of the vocal for a bit, and then let's see where we go next. Remember that thing I brought up earlier about the hi-hat moving like a human was doing it, and then I pulled out operator? Listen especially for right here. You really get that vibe here. Like over here as well. Just like this whole section right here. So again, if you have an actual drum machine, just like go to town on that decay knob, have a good time, or you can do it with software the way I showed you. Alright, we're layering back in that 2/4 vocal. There's a lot of reverb and delay that's starting to affect this ARP. Here we go. Now it's really just turning into like that more of like a bell sound. Then we're going to bring the vocal back in. And boom. Then the track's basically going to fade out. I'm going to give a brief summary, don't worry. Cool. So I ended it quickly because, again, if you've watched this channel before, you should kind of know what's going on here. Again, we have drums. We stack the drums. We then bring in a vocal sample. We then keep stacking the drums. We also modulate some of the drums to keep interest during our loops as we keep going through the track. Then we add some more drums. Then we take a little bit of a pause. Now we go to lead 2, switching off of lead 1. Now we start building back up with lead 2. Then we keep building by adding lead 1 back. We drum fill, we repeat that thing, then we're going to take another little break, and then we're going to start over once again, this time with mostly drums and with just a touch of vocal. So it's a little, we've never had a build up with a 1, 2, 3, 4 clap pattern and with just a touch of vocal. Then we're going to bring the arp back in, and it's quickly going to start modulating using like delays and reverbs, which we haven't had before, eventually coming into like almost turning into a bell, and then bring the vocals back. We've never had the vocals on top of melody 2 being played with the timbre of like a bell. I know this might be sounding confusing, but basically we're just interplaying with leads here. And like I could even say that here, think of these arps like they're almost like 2 different instruments, at least when they get to here, because now it's just like a bell sounding. It's a different timbre. And so especially if I do something like this, I think you'll notice how this helps keep the track interesting. Let's see. In the sense that you might be wondering, oh, hey, like if it just looked like this, you're like, how much just pink and green are we going to have? We're going to get bored of just hearing pink and green because that's a combination that we've already heard before, blah, 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 it's boring. But the reality is it's kind of more like this. It's like this light purple and green, because now the light purple is different than the pink with the timbre, and it's, I'd say, a pretty significant difference. So yeah, that's the track. If you want this project file, shoot me an email, like I said, wilcox.alexandme.com. Thanks for watching. If you like these videos, especially if you're a longtime viewer, please consider subscribing to my Patreon account. There's 3 tiers. Tier 1 is for $3. With that, that's US dollars. You're supporting me, and you're also going to get a few samples from that sample pack I mentioned earlier before they come out. It's just a handful, but it's just a little something that I can give you to show like that I appreciate the support. And if you go up to the $5 a month, in addition to getting that little sample pack, you actually just get all of the samples I've recorded, all the field recordings. Right now there's over 25, and I'm recording more. So that means you get the Sounds of Detroit pack, which is going to be sounds heard around Detroit. You're going to get Sounds of Hamtramck, which is a city inside the city of Detroit that has some really unique sounds. You're going to get those 2. I went to the gym and took the recorder with me, so you're going to get sounds from the gym. Really cool stuff there, like locker room ambiance. You're going to get swimming pool ambiance. You're going to get treadmills. You're going to get like just general gym ambiance. You're also going to get the Sounds of Life pack, which has like laundromats, which has me like opening up my car and you're hearing the beeper and just cool stuff. So you're going to get a lot of good samples. And you're also going to get track feedback, where once a month you can send me a track of yours and I'll give you feedback on it. You can ask me about the mix, you can ask me about the production, you can ask me about the arrangement, you can ask me about its release, or you can just ask me another music question. So that's right. For the $5 tier 2, you get all the samples and you get some feedback from me on something music related. Now, that last tier is going to be $35 a month. And with that, you get everything I just mentioned, but you also get one hour lesson with me per month. So during a lesson, we can look at a track of yours. We can talk about breakdowns of your tracks. We can basically do whatever you want audio-wise. I mean, like, not whatever you want, but I think you know what I mean. Mixing, producing, mastering, whatever. Releasing, all that. So yeah, thank y'all for watching. D.Dan, Sudan, Sedan, great track. Adios. Bye-bye.